What's up, hockey fans? How's it going? David Zwark here with you for another episode of the Odd Man Rush, brought to you by 5 Reasons Sports and sponsored by Signs Broward in Fort Lauderdale, coming to you live right here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. What's up? As I said, I'm David Zwark. I cover the Panthers for Local 10. I cover the Panthers for 5 Reasons here, and bringing you all the latest Panther news updates and all that good stuff. And look, it is a great time to be a Panthers fan. I feel like that's been like the repeating line over and over. But yeah, first team and only team so far, I believe, to clinch the playoffs. I don't think Colorado's got the X by their name yet. Actually, you know what? Let's check real quick. Nope, no X for Colorado. The Panthers are still the only team to clinch their playoff spot. They did it over the weekend with a couple of nice wins. They had the nice comeback win. Well, not so nice start, but a nice comeback win in New Jersey. And then they had the clinching win in Buffalo on Sunday. It's the first time in Panthers franchise history that they have qualified for the playoffs in 3 straight years. So that's kind of a special thing for the Cats. We haven't seen this kind of success really ever. This season has been the best Panthers team ever put on the ice. But look, three playoff years in a row. Granted, you know, the Islanders bubble year was kind of like whatever. Last year was that tough opening round series against the Lightning. But I mean, kind of taking a couple steps back and looking big picture. I mean, this is what Panthers fans have been hoping and waiting for a long, long time. Sustained success, consecutive playoff years. Now the next step, the next hump to get over is playoff success. Hopefully we're going to get some of that in the next couple of months here. But just kind of looking big picture, the franchise is coming around. They're not the 2000 Panthers. They're not the team that missed the playoffs 12 straight years. They're not the team that went a long time. What was it? 15 years between playoff wins. So it's a nice place to be, and I hope Panthers fans are just kind of soaking it in. Heading into tonight's game against Toronto, nice lead in the division, nice lead in the conference. Panthers 48-15-6. 48 wins with 13 games to go. 102 points. They're obviously going to set a new franchise record for points in a season, which was set back in 15-16 when they hit 103. Obviously, they're going to break that record. They might break it tonight. So what should we get into first here? There's a few things that I want to talk about today. Well, I mentioned the standings, so we'll kind of get through that here real quick as we kind of look at the standings heading into the final. As I said, 13 games, 7-point lead on Toronto, even after their big win last night in Tampa. 7 points ahead of Toronto, 9 points ahead of Tampa in the Atlantic Division. The Panthers have just opened this huge gap over the last few weeks. Hopefully, one that they're going to be able to maintain and at least finish first in the division, hopefully first in the conference. Right now, they've got a 4-point lead on Carolina for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. And again, all these teams have played 69 games. They've all got 13 games left. I mean, that's really the goal right now. That's as my esteemed colleague George Richards said in yesterday morning, that's the carrot at the end of the stick. Right now for the Panthers, that's really the motivation. Obviously, a game like tonight against Toronto, we saw how it was yesterday in Tampa. It was a playoff atmosphere. I would expect similar tonight at FLA Live Arena. It's going to be packed house. It's going to be loud. There's going to be fans from both teams, and that's I think that's kind of the driving force. But ultimately, we know how good they've been on home ice. It's well documented. It's been talked about ad nauseum at this point. You want home ice advantage in every single playoff series that you can get your hands on. Finishing first in the conference obviously solves all those issues. So hopefully they'll get there. Obviously, there's still over a dozen games left, but it again, right now, if the playoffs started and the way it's kind of shaping up, it looks like the Panthers Capitals could be that first round playoff series. Again, a lot can happen between now and then, but there's a gap forming between the Capitals and whoever's in third place or whoever's in fourth place in the Atlantic Division with right now is Boston. Whoever it is, there's a gap forming there. And if the Panthers can continue to hang on to that top spot, that's where it'll be, which would, I guess, kind of be ideal. I'd love to see my perfect playoff scenario would be Panthers playing Washington, Panthers getting the top seed. We'll take that. But I'd love to see a Toronto-Boston series, and I'd love to see a Tampa-Carolina series. I would love that. That's my ideal matchup for me. And then the Rangers in Pittsburgh would be a whole lot of fun too. But I would love to see Toronto and Boston, one of them knock out the other one. I'd love to see Carolina and Tampa, one of them knock out the other one right there. Bing, boom. No matter what happens, you've gotten two pretty big obstacles out of the way right there. So that would be my ideal first round matchup in the Eastern Conference. And then we'd have to see how things shook out from there. But yeah, that also would be a way to possibly get a Panthers Lightning Eastern Conference final. Let's go Panthers indeed. Because if the Lightning end up finishing in the wild card, that would be, they would go over to the other side of the bracket, and then if they win out, they would play Florida in the East final, or Carolina or Rangers Pittsburgh. But again, just in terms of how good that playoff series was last year, I really think it's going to be good regardless of who they play. I mean, we've seen what Toronto is starting to do. They're starting to get really consistent with mucking up the neutral zone and shutting things down. So that would make for a very tough checking series with the Panthers. Obviously, the Panthers and the Lightning go blow for blow, and it's always a lot of fun, and they hate each other's guts. And I mean, look, Boston and South Florida, there's no love lost, generally speaking, in terms of sports rivalries there. That would be a fun series too. And if the Panthers could exercise their playoff demons against the New England team, all the better, right? I don't want to hear it, you Boston fans. I don't want to hear you complaining. You've won your fair share of cups and trophies, and you're good. It's, someone else's turn at the front of the line. One thing that I noticed over the weekend, and it's becoming more of a trend lately, and it's kind of recognized for the Panthers captain, Sasha Barkov. At least with games on the line in crunch time, you're seeing him put a much more concentrated effort at getting pucks to the net, which is like, thank you. Like, I mean, we know how good Sasha Barkov is, regardless of what he's doing, whether he's playing defense, whether he's rushing, whether he's putting the puck on net, whether he's on a breakaway. This is a guy who's elite at everything. He's good at everything. So to see him just looking to get the pucks on the net more, because he's got such a quick release on his shot, and he knows to shoot at times where the goalie may not be ready, may not be squared up, his feet may not be set. Just love seeing it more. I mean, obviously in the Devils game with the Panthers trailing, you saw Barkov basically, he brought him back. He got the 2 goals, the late goals. He got with the net empty, with Spencer Net at the bench. He made it 6-5. He tied it 6-6. Just love to see it. There's a small bit of irony there too, right? Because Barkov, he's like this laser focused at getting the puck to the net when the Panthers have their net empty. When the other team's got the net empty and Barkov's staring at the empty net, he looks like he goes out of his way to do everything he can to not score, just to set up somebody else. And I think we saw that in Buffalo on Sunday. And they didn't end up getting an empty net goal. It's just, again, I'm not going to complain because Sasha Barkov is insanely good, as I said, at basically everything he does. But it's just funny how he's got such a knack for scoring with the Panthers goalie pulled. But when the other team pulls their goalie, where's Verhage? Where's Hubie? Where are my boys? Can I get a defenseman over here? Let me get somebody else to score this. But again, congrats to Barkov. He was named the NHL's second star of the week. 2 points in 4 consecutive games for Barkey. For all the talk, and rightly so, that's gone to Jonathan Huberto this year. Sasha Barkov has been just as elite. And the Panthers have 2 bona fide superstars in their top 6. And it's, it's all kind of falling into place for the Panthers. And it's great to see. We're going to get to the power play in just a minute. I do want to talk a little bit about that. And I also want to talk about our sponsor. But real quick, before we get into that stuff, goaltending. I wanted to talk a little bit about the goaltending. It's obviously something that I talk about a lot. We've gotten to it on this show many, many times. After the weekend that the Panthers just had, I mean, look, since the last time we did one of these shows, what's happened? Sergei Bobrovsky went out. He had his best game, maybe as a Panther, against the Blackhawks, a 37-save shutout. He was making big saves. He was making little saves. His rebound control was pretty solid. That was the Bob that, you paid for. That was, if that Sergei Bobrovsky is who the Panthers get for the playoffs, give him the cup right now. As good as that roster is, if you give them elite Bob, it's over. It's over. You just close the laptop because it's over. It's done. But then the very next game in New Jersey, let's see, can we get some momentum with Bob? No. No Mo. No Mo for Bob. He went out and played not good. I mean, a couple of those Devils goals were tough. A couple deflections, hung out to dry a little bit, but it's just like that. That's the inner frustration for me, is like what he did in the Blackhawks game when there were breakdowns. He made the big save. That's what you need your starting goaltender. Your cup contending team needs their goaltender to make those big saves. And he didn't come up with one in the Devils game. Every chance the Devils got to bury the puck, they did. Whether it was a quick one-time in the slot, whether it was a breakdown below the circles and he's facing a one-on-one, no big saves. And I think that's been more the norm than what we saw against the Blackhawks, where he's big save Bob. And again, that just kind of feeds into my concern for the playoffs. Now you get Spencer Knight. He comes in against the Devils and he only faced 6 shots, 5 in the third period, 1 in overtime, stopped them all. Went back against the Sabres, got the win there. Again, not great, not elite, but enough to get the win. Making some of the big stops, keeping them in it. Sabres got a late goal on the power play, if I'm not mistaken. But Knight, I'm just more comfortable with him at this point. He's more consistent. He's more reliable. He's more steady. And if the playoffs started tomorrow, for me, Spencer Knight's my starting goaltender. Now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, I don't think Spencer Knight would be the starting goaltender. I think they'd still go with Bob. And that's why, I'm talking to you. I'm not coaching, I guess. But I mean, if it's up to me, if it was my call right now, I'm more comfortable with Spencer Knight. Just on the mean, in a 7-game series, give me Spencer Knight. There's 13 games. Maybe Bob will channel his inner Blackhawks game, Bob, and become that guy, which I'm fine with. If he's going to be that guy, be that guy. But what we've seen, it's not enough for me. And this is a team that can win the Stanley Cup. It blows your mind to hear it. But this is a Panthers team that is absolutely a cup caliber team. But they're going to need decent, consistent goaltending to get there. They don't need elite goaltending. They just need some decent goaltending. Make a couple of the big stops. You're not going to make them all, I get that, but you're going to have to hold your team in a playoff game. Momentum swings come at you like 1-ton pendulums in the playoffs. It's a much different thing to come back in the regular season from a 2 or 3 goal deficit than it is in the playoffs. It's rare when you get like what Vegas did to San Jose a couple of years ago. When Boston ripped Toronto's heart out with James Reimer like 10 years ago. Like those kind of playoff comebacks don't happen. That's why we're talking about like 1 or 2 a decade. They don't happen that often. The Panthers are going to need their goaltending to be better in the playoffs. Probably. Maybe they'll score 5 goals a game in the playoffs and it'll be a moot point. And look, that would be freaking awesome if that's the case. But I'm not there yet. All right. Before I get into the power play, I want to talk about the sponsor of the Odd Man Rush, and that's Signs Broward of Fort Lauderdale. I've been talking about him for a few shows now, and the more that I've kind of looked into this company, the more I've navigated their website, looked at some of their work. It is without a doubt the #1 sign company in Broward County. I love that they are locally owned and operated. They specialize in custom indoor and outdoor signs, vehicle graphics, trade show displays, sign maintenance, and more. They've got a ridiculously amazing and talented staff, full service, one-stop shop. When you've got an idea for a custom graphic or design in your mind, they will help shape that exact sign or graphic that you're looking for. They'll print and manufacture your creation, and they'll install it perfectly, whether it's at your business, on your vehicle, wherever you need it. They can help you if you're a business owner with your window graphics, interior office signage, custom flags and banners. And remember, they will offer sign repair and maintenance as well. As I said, one-stop shop. A lot of the signs that you see around Broward County, whether you're on Las Olas, whether you're in Federal Highway, a lot of those big, beautiful signs were made by Signs Broward. So for more information on them, on Signs Broward, give them a call at 954-791-8685, or you can visit them online at signsbrowardfortlauderdale.com. Once again, that's Signs Broward Fort Lauderdale, 954-791-8685, or online at signsbrowardfortlauderdale.com. All right. Power play. Let's see. Hold on. With this team, we should win back-to-back championships. Florida boy, I don't disagree with you. It just comes down to, for me, it comes down to the goaltending. If the goaltending is consistent and solid enough, this is a team that could be a dynasty. I mean, just they're probably going to sign Hubie long-term in the offseason. Everything that I've heard points to a similar situation to how they handled to Sasha Barkov last summer. Once the season's over, they'll reach out to Huberto's representatives. I would expect that something gets done. I don't think Huberto is going to hold the Panthers over the coils, the rails, whatever the phrase is, hold them over the flame. And I don't think that the Panthers, I don't think they'll be lowballing Huberto either. I think I think it should be a smooth negotiation. And thinking about Huberto long-term, Barkov long-term, you got Ekblad signed, Reinhart, Bennett, Duclair, Forsling. Knight he's going to get his, he's still on his ELC through next year. And then you get him on his bridge deal. Mason Marchment he signed an extension. They're loaded. They're good to go. Carter Verhaeghe, another guy. I'm just kind of going through the list in my head. Like, this team is locked and loaded for years to come. If the goaltending hold it, for me, that's the only question mark. That's the Riddler. Riddle me this. That's the only thing. So yeah, this is a team that can win back-to-back cups. They can be a dynasty. They're the table's set. Let's get to the main course. 13 games away. So the power play has gone through a little bit of transition. A little bit of changes since the addition of Claude Giroux. We're now seeing the power play one has been 5 forwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forwards. And they have been Sasha Barkov, Jonathan Huberto, Claude Giroux, Samson Reinhart, Anthony Duclair. Now, when they do switch to add a defenseman to that group, which we've seen a little bit in practice, we saw it in the 5-on-3 the other day in Buffalo, and that was Mackenzie Weegar taking Duclair's spot with that same Barkov, Huberto, Giroux, Reinhart. Power play 2, for the most part, when healthy, it's Verhaeghe, Sam Bennett, Patrick Hornquist in the middle, Mason Marchment, and then Brandon Montour. Now, I asked specifically Andrew Burnett, who's been very hands-on with the power play. He was coaching the Panthers power play before he took over as interim head coach. He's remained that kind of main power play guy. Like I said, he's very hands-on with it. I asked him this morning, what are the advantages of 5 forwards as opposed to having a defenseman out there? And he said he likes the fluidity of that. And obviously things change with Aaron Ekblad out, because when Aaron Ekblad is out there, he is basically, he has the skills of a forward and a defenseman in terms of how he can handle the puck on his stick, how he can shoot the puck. Ekblad is an anomaly in that regard. So I would think that when he's healthy, when he returns, which it's still looking like early May is the target for Aaron Ekblad to return, which is when the playoffs start, I would think that he'll go back on that power play and kind of quarterback it from the top. Until that happens, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Bruno likes having all those skilled guys out there, interchangeable. I mean, you've seen kind of Reinhart and Duclair for the most part sharing the middle, with Barkov, Huberto, and Giroux moving around on the outside. But I mean, Barkov from the point. The thing is with Barkov, and we talked, I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the show, is as lethal of a shot as he has, he's not what I would call a shooter. When he makes an effort to put the puck on the net, yeah, absolutely. But he's not like a shoot first guy. And I think from that point position, you'd like to have somebody maybe who's got a little bit more of a cannon, like an Ekblad, or just like a defenseman who's going to have that propensity to get that heavy shot off. Whereas with the 5 forwards, you're not really seeing those heavy point shots, which again, when they're opening those passing lanes with how they're moving around. That's what Bruno's looking for. He wants those pretty passing plays. Now, he doesn't, again, you have to find that fine line, because he, in the same breath, said this morning he doesn't want them getting too cute. So how do you find that balance between being really, pristine with your passing, with moving the defenseman around so you can open up those cross-ice passing lanes, so you can make the goalie travel the farthest distance, you can open up more of the net for those one-timers, but you don't want to get too cute at the same time. So it's a tough balance, I'm sure the Panthers forwards have to find, but that's really what he's looking for. Now, another advantage to having a defenseman out there, aside from the heavy shot, is it's also a little easier to defend the shorthanded opportunities. Now, granted, the Panthers' power play has been at least possessionally very strong with the puck, so they're not giving up a lot of the odd man rushes the other way, which is a nice change from recent years. Y'all know what I'm saying there. Again, it just comes down to, what does the coach want? And when the coach and the power play coach are one and the same, Bruno wants his power play to be moving. He wants a lot of motion. He wants, as I said, he wants those passing lanes getting opened up. And without Aaron Ekblad, I understand why they're doing what they're doing with the five forwards. I'm a big fan of getting Mackenzie Weegar some power play time. And that's what I kind of keep going back to with all this is, I'd like to see him get a little bit more. It was great to see him get the 5-on-3 goal in Buffalo the other day. Nice one-timer, far side. Great to see from Weeds. And look, this is a guy who I don't want to say it's a sensitive issue, but certainly somebody who should have probably gotten more power play time. There was discussion of getting him more power play time. Never really accumulated in that regard. So it's good to see. And, again, when you see that the second unit still sticks to that one defender as well, it's kind of like, okay. And look, I get keeping Montour with the same unit that's been kind of his spot. I get it. And then when Ekblad gets back, as I said, I think that's he'll probably go back to that top power play, which means he'll be the one defenseman. And it is what it is. But ultimately, they need to see a little bit more repetition. And that's kind of, as I round off my power play point here, whether it's the five forwards, whether it's with Weegs, they need more reps. They've got, 13 games in the regular season. You would expect between losing Ekblad and gaining Giroux, it's going to take a little time for these guys to maybe get that chemistry where, like with Barkov and Huberto, when they're on the ice together, they're cycling, they're moving the puck, they know what the other one is going to do. Same with Aaron Ekblad out there. You want to see them get to that level, or as close as they can to it, with this new unit and with Claude Giroux out there, and ultimately reps. So they work it a bit in practice. They haven't really had that many opportunities to practice over the last week or so between the travel schedule, the back-to-backs. This week, whether they're going to be off tomorrow, the day after the Leafs game, I don't know, but they still have another practice day. They're going to have at least one practice day before Friday's game against Buffalo at home, Wednesday, Thursday. Right now, there's practices scheduled for both, but again, it's going to depend on, we'll see if they go out and they have an amazing game tonight against Toronto, then I would say, maybe they get the day off tomorrow. If not, you get, excuse me, you get a little bit of the extra ice time. And again, even if you do like a light practice, get some of those reps. Certainly wouldn't hurt. I talked a minute ago about Sasha Barkov and his awesome week last week, getting the second star, but it was also an equally awesome week for Jonathan Huberto, maybe more on a personal note, but he became the NHL's all-time assist record for left wingers, which is pretty ridiculous. I mean, in the history of the entire league, Jonathan Huberto is now the assist king for a single season, and I would imagine he's probably going to be shooting up that list career-wise as the years go past as well. He also became the franchise scoring leader. He passed Stephen Weiss for games played most games in franchise history. No Panthers had more points in a season than Jonathan Huberto. I mean, he's just racking them up at this point. And I think I mentioned it on last week's show how it just seems inevitable at this point that your number 16 and number 11 and probably number 5 are all going to be hanging in the rafters, in the next couple of decades once, they hang up their skates for good. I mean, obviously, Luongo is up there. It's just pretty amazing that you're watching these generational players, franchise players, superstars. They've all grown into it, and it's just really nice, man. Just coming from somebody. I'm take my journalist hat off for a second here. Just coming from somebody who has followed this team since the beginning. I grew up here in South Florida. I grew up a hockey player here in South Florida. I looked up to the Panthers. That was part of what got me into the sport. Knowing everything that this franchise and this fan base has been through for the last 3 decades, like F&A, man, like this is great. And I don't know, I feel like a broken record at this point, but just like, I'm a guy who appreciates things in life. So with something like this happens, just like with, what happened with the big 3 at the Heat, I can appreciate that kind of shit. And this is just amazing. A couple other quick notes that I wanted to get to before wrapping up the show. We did get the return over the weekend of Anton Lundell. I thought in the first game in New Jersey, maybe finding his feet a little bit, didn't really stand out that much. I thought Sunday in Buffalo, it was like, oh, hey, I remember this guy. This guy's friggin' awesome. And he's only 20 years old, but he's turning the puck over and he's creating chances and he's getting to and he scored a goal. It's like, yeah, Lundell's back. It's just amazing watching what this guy can do at such a young age in his first year in the NHL. It's so nice to have him back in the lineup. It's just an embarrassment of riches at this point. But yeah, I'm excited to see as he gets going into the playoffs. Talking to him after yesterday's practice, or when was it? Was it yesterday? It's so hard to keep track. It was after. Excuse me, it was after the game in Buffalo. When we asked him about clinching the playoffs, and he's like, "The real fun's going to start soon." Like, even he's got a knack for it at such a young age, and you just love to see it. So, so great to see Lundell back in the lineup, back on that amazing third line with Mason Marchment and Sam Reinhart. Sam Reinhart, the third line guy. And look, that line's been, I mean, it's not a third, it's a third line on this team. On most teams, that's a second line at least. But yeah, that's good to see them going again. And the other thing I wanted to mention is just how good do both Mackenzie Weegar and Gus Forsling look since they've been paired back together the last couple of games. Gus Forsling particularly, I think the 2 games over the weekend, he hit another level. He just looked so good on both sides. I mean, we've known he's always been solid in the defensive end. And his skating skills are off the charts. One of the best skating defensemen in the league right now. And you put that down. He is so good on his feet. So excellent game in Chicago. Again, stood out in Buffalo. I think he had another post in Buffalo as well. 2 goals in the Jersey game. So yeah, just the last 3 games for Gus Forsling have been superb, and Mackenzie Weegar also. Just that pairing, it's great to see. And it makes me wonder, as we get to the playoffs, maybe you keep Weegar and Forsling together. Maybe you think about pairing up Ben Sherratt and Aaron Ekblad. I don't know. It's a good problem to have, and I'm curious to see how it plays out once the playoffs get here. All right, so that's going to do it. That's going to wrap things up for this week's episode of the Odd Man Rush, brought to you by Signs Broward and Fort Lauderdale. Again, a big thank you to my producer, Manny Chang, for doing everything that he does, putting all the graphics up, getting this on the air, on the web, all the great work he does. So thank you so much, Manny, to you. And thank you to everybody for watching, for commenting, tweeting at me. It is all very much appreciated. And I hope you're enjoying the show, and I know you're enjoying this Panther season. So until next time, I am David Dwork, coming to you on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel for the Odd Man Rush. Until next week, you guys, stay cool.